There comes a moment in life, and it doesn't always arrive with a warning. It sneaks in quietly after long, restless nights, failed plans, and exhausting efforts to fix what refuses to bend. You've been doing everything, hustling, grinding, meditating, journaling, manifesting, praying, planning, and still nothing shifts. You look up and whisper, "Why isn't it working?" Here's the truth, the hard truth that will set you free. You've been trying to force alignment with a clenched fist. But the universe doesn't respond to fists, it responds to surrender. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." So while you affirm your future, deep down, your energy is quietly saying, "I'm lacking, I'm not enough, I'm scared." The world doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your energy. That's why results don't come. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you're in survival mode, trying to control what was never yours to command. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. When your identity is built around chasing, fixing, solving, life mirrors back the emptiness you're trying to outrun. But what if the most powerful move, right now, is to stop? Stop forcing, stop proving, not out of fear, but from faith, not from weakness, but from wisdom. Because when you stop doing, you start becoming. When the noise fades, your unconscious stirs. When you stop interfering, healing begins. Your shadow starts to integrate. Your reality begins to shift. This isn't the end of your effort. It's the beginning of your surrender, not giving up but giving in to something deeper. Let go and see what unfolds. Chapter 1. Stop chasing. You're in your own way. We were taught that success comes from relentless pursuit, that happiness lies in the chase. But Jung didn't teach us to chase. He taught us to look inward and ask, why am I chasing this? Because sometimes what you're chasing isn't the real desire. It's a patch, a cover-up for a deeper wound. When love consumes your mind, is it really about connection or the fear of being abandoned again? When money becomes an obsession, is it about freedom or proving your worth to people who once belittled you? Jung's brilliance wasn't motivation. It was confrontation. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. If your wounds stay buried, they will shape your dreams, and you won't even notice. So you keep running, believing the next thing will finally fulfill you. But life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you are. And if you are desperate, wounded, fragmented, your goals will keep slipping away, not because you don't deserve them, but because your energy says, I'm not whole, I'm not ready. And the universe reflects back, you're right. That's why we burn out, chasing love that never lands, careers that drain us, validation that doesn't last, not because our dreams are wrong, but because the self behind them is still bleeding. The obsession, it's never about the thing, it's about what we believe it will fix. And the hard truth is, if you got it right now, you couldn't hold it. Your hands are still shaking from old pain. Jung didn't teach us how to manifest from ego. He showed us how to integrate the soul, to stop chasing and start facing, to admit, I'm not really chasing success, I'm chasing wholeness. So here's the turning point. Before you ask the universe for more, ask yourself, what part of me still feels empty? Heal that. And you won't chase what was never meant for you. You'll start attracting what always was. This isn't about giving up your goals. It's about cleansing your motives. Become the kind of person who doesn't need more to feel whole, because they already are. Then the universe won't test you. It will trust you. And everything starts to change. Chapter 2. The unconscious is always listening. We often think life is testing us, throwing obstacles in our way to see if we're strong enough, worthy enough, patient enough. But life isn't testing you. Life is mirroring you. It doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your energy, not your affirmations, not your inspirational captions about healing, but your unconscious identity, the silent beliefs behind your choices, behind your voice. Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. In other words, stop searching the skies for signs. Start reading the ones written in your soul. If your unconscious is filled with doubt, with fear, with quiet stories of not being enough, No amount of scripting can override that. You can write "I am enough" in golden ink across your ceiling, but if you don't believe it deep down, it doesn't land. It doesn't shift anything. You can't trick the unconscious. It hears you. It runs everything. That tight feeling in your chest when you imagine your future. That doubt that creeps in before you hit send. That low-grade panic whispering, "What if it doesn't work out?" That's not your intuition. That's your unconscious saying, "You don't really believe this is possible, do you?" And life, faithfully, reflects that energy back to you. So what do? You slow down. You stop layering positivity over panic. You stop begging. You stop forcing. Because real power, it doesn't come from effort. It comes from presence, from the stillness inside you, from the quiet wisdom your ego talks over. When doubt shows up, don't run. When fear knocks, don't push it down. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Decode it. Every fear is a message. Every hesitation is a signal. The unconscious is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? Because the moment you stop trying to force divine timing with human impatience, the shift begins. That's when your energy realigns. That's when resistance melts. That's when the universe says, "Now, you're ready." You're not here to chase alignment. You're here to become it. And becoming begins in stillness. Chapter 3. Detachment isn't defeat, it's awakening. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means waking up. You let go, not because you've lost hope, but because something deeper inside you finally sees the truth. You were never meant to control everything. You were only meant to understand yourself within it. Detachment isn't apathy, it's power. It's pulling your energy back from places it never truly belonged. It's the quiet confidence that whispers, "I've done my part. Now, I release the rest." Carl Jung understood this. He knew transformation doesn't come from obsession. It comes from surrender, not giving up, but giving in to alignment. And here's the thing. You can't fake detachment. You can't scroll through social media saying "I'm over it," while secretly checking for a sign every 5 minutes. Your unconscious hears the truth. It knows when you're still clinging beneath the surface. If your energy says, "I need this" or "I'm not whole," life will show you where you still feel broken. But detachment? It's not the absence of desire. It's the absence of dependence. It says, even if this never comes, I'm still enough. And that's when the shift begins. Because when your energy no longer resists, life moves. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally stopped blocking the flow. So if you find yourself waiting, watching, hoping, just press pause. Not to distract yourself, but to ask, what part of me thinks this one thing will fix everything? That part doesn't need to be silenced. It needs to be seen. Because once you see yourself fully, the need to seek yourself in others fades. You stop chasing, you start attracting, you stop begging, you start receiving, you stop looking for mirrors, because you become your own. This is the shift. No more chasing. No more proving. Just you. Fully embodied. Fully grounded. Fully enough. Chapter 4. Allow the void. This is the part no one talks about. The part after the letting go. After the surrender. When everything goes quiet. No signs. No miracles. No sudden breakthrough. Just stillness. You wake up, and nothing feels different. The world looks the same. The ache in your chest hasn't moved. Your phone stays silent. And you wonder, was it even worth it? This is the void. And it's not the enemy. It's the test. Most people turn back here because they were taught, if I let go, something better should come instantly. But the universe doesn't move on demand. It moves in alignment. Before it delivers what you desire, it asks, who have you become without it? Because the void isn't empty. It's full of everything your nervous system is still integrating. Carl Jung called this the creative void. He said, in all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. What looks like nothing and is everything. Your soul is rebuilding. Your unconscious is rewiring. New beliefs are taking root. But because you can't see the shift, your ego panics. It whispers, this isn't working. And if you believe that lie, You'll sabotage everything. You'll start chasing again. You'll interrupt the healing. You'll block what was quietly forming behind the scenes. The void isn't punishment. It's purification. It strips away your attachments, the need to control, to prove, to earn, to rush, until only your truth remains. And in that stillness, the universe listens, because energy never lies. You can script, you can affirm, you can chant. But if your energy still whispers, "I'm afraid it won't happen," life echoes back, "You're right." So here's your real test. Can you embody the outcome before it arrives? Can you feel wealthy before the money comes? Loved before the partner shows up? Free before your life reflects it? If you can, you collapse time, you stop waiting and start becoming. You become the vibration of your desire, and life has no choice but to respond. But first, pass the test, the silence, the stillness, the not yet. If you're there now, and hold your ground. Don't panic, don't fix, don't chase. Just breathe, be, listen. Because the moment you master stillness, the moment you stop needing proof, life gets loud again, and this time it sings your song. Chapter 5. Integrate. Don't obsess every desire you feel and is a message. It's not random, it's not punishment. It's not the universe teasing you. It's a signal, a mirror, an invitation to wake up to what's already inside you. Carl Jung taught that desire doesn't come from nowhere. It rises from the unconscious, not to push you toward something external, but to awaken something internal. You don't want money just to have it. You want to feel safe. You don't crave love just to be loved. You want to be seen. You're not chasing success for applause. You want to believe you're enough. The desire isn't the problem. The unconscious attachment to what it means, that's what holds you back. Most people confuse obsession with action. They check their phone 20 times a day. They scroll for signs. They call it manifesting. But Carl Jung offered us something deeper. He didn't teach us to chase outcomes. He taught us to become whole. Wholeness doesn't come from chasing what's missing. It comes from embracing what we've hidden. Your light and your shadow, your strength and your struggle, your truth and your doubt. Because when you can hold it all, you stop asking the world to complete you. You complete yourself. Let this sink in. You don't attract what you obsess over. You attract what you've made peace with. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, pause. Not because you're giving up, but because you're mastering alignment. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what part of me still believes this will fix me? That part doesn't need more effort. It needs your presence. It needs your truth. Because when you realize you're already whole, you stop reaching, you stop proving, and your energy begins to settle. You stop needing the world to reflect your worth because you already feel it inside. And here's what happens next. The universe responds differently, not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped trying to earn what was already yours. Now your energy says, I already am, I already have, I already feel it. That's the difference between manifesting with force and magnetizing with ease. Yes, you could keep pushing, or you could try something revolutionary. Sit still. Let life catch up to your new frequency, because when the inner shift is real, you don't chase, you don't even ask, you simply become, you simply allow, you simply receive. Chapter 6. The ego wants control. The soul wants peace. Let's be real, that part of you checking your phone, refreshing your inbox, rereading messages, wondering, why hasn't it happened yet? That's not your higher self. That's your ego, and it's scared. The ego hates the unknown. It wants guarantees. It wants the outcome now. And when it doesn't get that, it spirals, it panics. It starts micromanaging divine timing, and then it tells you, this fear, it's your intuition. But it's not. It's anxiety, dressed as wisdom. Carl Jung knew this well. He didn't just observe the ego. He wrestled with it. He taught us that real transformation lives in the tension between ego and soul. The ego demands proof. The soul whispers truth. The ego says, control this so you don't get hurt again. The soul says, you've already survived worse. Let's move forward with grace. Most people never realize the ego wants outcomes. The soul wants alignment. The ego says, how? The soul says, trust. Carl Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And the truth is, you are not your panic. You are not your doubt. You are the calm beneath it. The version of you that breathes deeper, walks slower, doesn't measure worth by productivity or praise. The version that knows Everything meant for me will arrive, not in my time, but in divine time. But to access that version, you have to interrupt the cycle, catch yourself in the spiral, and ask, is this ego or essence? If it feels like urgency, it's ego. If it feels like peace, it's soul. This isn't about giving up your desires, it's about releasing your grip on them, because desperation is loud, but alignment is quiet. Alignment doesn't plead, it doesn't panic, it doesn't prove, it just becomes. So if you feel stuck in uncertainty, don't react, don't force. Instead, as pause, close your eyes, put a hand on your heart, and ask, what would the healed version of me do right now? Then do that. Not to manipulate the outcome, but to anchor into who you really are. You're not here to control everything. You're here to co-create something real. And that co-creation, it starts with peace. Follow that peace, and everything meant for you will follow. Chapter 7. Shadow work is manifestation. Work. You can't manifest your highest life by only loving your highlight reel. You can't attract abundance while rejecting the parts of you that still feel small, scared, or unworthy. Because the universe doesn't reward your perfection, it responds to your wholeness. And wholeness means meeting your shadow. Carl Jung called the shadow the parts of us we've disowned, the fear, the shame, the self-doubt, the anger, not evil, not darkness, just the parts we've been taught to hide. Most people think manifestation is about high vibes, vision boards and crystal grids, but real, soul-rooted manifestation, it begins in the places you avoid, because if your desire is rooted in fear, your manifestation will carry that fear forward. You'll attract love that feels unstable, money that slips through your hands, opportunities that burn you out, not because you're cursed, but because your vibration whispered, I'm not safe, I'm not enough. This is why shadow work is everything. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So stop asking, how do I manifest more, and start asking, what inside me still believes I'm not worthy of it? Shadow work isn't trendy. It's not easy. But it's the key. It asks you to be honest, to look at the part of you that still believes love has to be earned, that money only comes through struggle, that happiness is for other people. Those parts don't need to be shamed. They need to be seen. When you bring light to the parts of you that feel unlovable, they stop screaming for attention. They soften, they integrate, and suddenly, the chaos slows down. You begin to manifest from clarity, from calm, from truth. You're no longer begging the world to reflect what you refuse to claim. You become the mirror. So if you've been trying to script your future while avoiding your past, this is your pivot point. Stop running. Turn around. Look your shadow in the eyes. Say to it, I see you. You can come with me. But you no longer get to lead. And in that moment, you shift from wounded to whole, from chasing to attracting. You're no longer manifesting from fear, you're magnetizing from integration. And that's where the magic begins. Chapter 8. Don't be the blocker of your own destiny. Here's a hard truth. The only thing standing between you and what you want is you. Not your past, not your upbringing, not the universe, you. Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and terrifying it is, because real self-acceptance requires radical honesty. It asks you to look at the parts of yourself you've rejected, the guilt, the regret, the fear, the deep-rooted belief that maybe you're just not enough. So instead of going inward, you chase, you hustle for love, you grind for success. You try to manifest, not from faith, but from fear, hoping that if you get the result, you'll finally feel worthy. But here's the thing. The universe doesn't reward escape. It rewards readiness. If everything you asked for showed up right now, could you hold it? Would your nervous system feel safe? Or would some part of you still be whispering, I'm not ready, I don't deserve this? That's what Jung meant when he said the unconscious runs the show. If your conscious mind says, I want more, but your unconscious says, I'm not worthy, guess which one the universe hears? The contradiction blocks the blessing, and so we repeat the cycle. Chasing, forcing, burning out. Not because we're broken, but because we're still operating from a version of ourselves that was built in survival. A version that was taught, you must earn love, you must struggle for success, you're only worthy when you produce. But here's the shift. You don't need a new goal, you need a new identity. You don't need to manifest harder, you need to evolve. Evolve into the version of you who no longer doubts their worth, who no longer waits for external validation, who simply knows, I am already enough. Because here's the universal law no one talks about. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. If you still feel unworthy, even subtly, you'll repel the very things you're asking for. Not because you mean to, but because your energy doesn't match your intention. So if you're feeling blocked right now, don't blame the timing, don't blame the universe. Ask yourself, what part of me still believes I have to struggle to receive? Because the moment you shift that belief, everything else shifts with it. You're not stuck, you're being invited to rise into the version of yourself who doesn't beg for blessings, but simply receives them. Because you finally remembered, you are worthy, you are ready, you are enough. No more blocking your own destiny. You're ready to hold it now. Chapter 9. You're not manifesting, you're remembering. Let's close this with a truth that changes everything. You're not manifesting, you're remembering. You thought you were creating a new life. You thought you were calling something in. Success, peace, love, purpose. But what if it was never about calling anything in? What if it was always about uncovering what was already there? Carl Jung didn't teach us to become more. He taught us to remember who we were before we forgot. Everything you've been chasing, it's a part of you you abandoned. A part that got buried beneath fear, trauma, shame, and proving. The version of you that already feels loved, it exists. The version that trusts, that receives with ease, that creates with joy, she's not somewhere out there, she's right here. She's always been. But the world convinced you to forget, to perform, to prove, to perfect. So you covered her up. With doubt, with hustle, with needing things outside you to tell you who you are. But now, the remembering begins. You're not scripting to create something new. You're peeling away what never belonged. You're stripping back to your essence, to your original frequency. That's why things align when you finally let go, not because surrender is a strategy, but because surrender is your home. It's who you are, still, whole, enough. You've never needed to be more. You've only needed to remember. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember the self beneath the ego, the soul beneath the noise, the worth that was never up for negotiation. If you're still clinging, still questioning, and still waiting, pause. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because the universe is whispering. You don't need to force what you've already become. You're not here to chase. You're not here to prove. You're here to return to the version of you who already knows, I am enough, I am safe, I am whole. Everything meant for me will arrive, not when I demand it, but when I remember, I've always been it. And once you remember who you are, you don't beg, you don't script, you don't hustle, you simply allow, you simply receive, you simply are. Welcome home.